Jordan Love, I think, was the talk of the weekend. When I got home from Saturday night to go sit down and watch the Jet preseason game, I look on whatever Twitter is called now, and all anyone is talking about is just how good Jordan Love looks. It feels like something somewhat special is starting in Green Bay.
If Jordan Love plays in the regular season, the way he plays this preseason, the NFC is going to absolutely have another playoff contender, and they got another seat at the table. The two big takeaways. How Jordan Love has taken the lower body mechanics and matched them to his talent and their offense. That was the big question mark for him coming out of school. And he's been able to work at it. And then now the confidence in what he's doing. One hitch, drive the football. Two hitch, check down. A little bit of a slower hitch. And then you're watching this young player develop and then watching some of the young talent around him develop. Romeo Doubs, Luke Musgrave, Christian Watson. So, you know, Green Bay's set up right now, and I've talked about this since, I feel, March, that if Jordan Love is average, they're a playoff team. Right now, Jordan Love does not look average. I understand it's the preseason. Right now, Jordan Love looks to be very, very good and very settled. That should be a problem for the rest of the NFC.
Yeah, look, I mean, we can only react to what we've seen. The evidence is what the evidence is. We understand it could turn around quickly.
Sure.
The stuff that really matters hasn't started yet, but so far, so good. Domonique, what's the most important piece of this to you?
Yeah, I would love nothing more than to come and pour cold water on Dan's quarterback excitement, but I have to agree with what Jordan Love has done so far.
When you take these quarterbacks in the first round, the question is play them, don't play them, all this stuff. The Packers had the luxury of having Aaron Rodgers and chasing championships. That goal was not accomplished. So Brian Gutekunst, their general manager, while he's built a really good team for Jordan to go into, that both things could be true. The ultimate goal hasn't been accomplished, but a goal of placing a young quarterback in a good situation is. But also for Jordan Love, and Jeff's point of, and you've heard me say this, the hardest thing for a young quarterback is to go into the NFL and break all the bad habits that they have from still being a young player while also not or dealing with the pressure of you have to win on Sunday. Jordan Love never had to do that. He was able to break the bad habits. That's why you see, like, catch rhythm in the shotgun, kick the ball to the flat, timing. That ball to Christian Watson's perfect. 3 years ago, he's not doing that. The ball fake, and now watch him flip his hips, and it's a little sidearm fling. Like, these are all the things that Jordan Love has been able to kind of get rid of some of the warts of his game. And now, when you talk about some talented player, and this isn't the case for every situation, his talent is on display now. His natural ability and the work ethic that he's done to get rid of all that stuff. And it's a great situation. The young players that he has, they're really talented young players. I've said this a million times. It's not Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts. It's not that far off.
Yeah, look, this is what the Packers are and aren't. Aaron Rodgers essentially broke his thumb last year. I don't think it was actually broken, but he injured his thumb badly in that game early in the season last year against the Giants, and they just were never the same again because he wasn't healthy. That's a good team that has the potential to be an excellent team. And so now you put a young quarterback in there, he's got a chance to be really good. Nick, I smiled when Jeff Darlington said, let's not get the expectations out of control. The very first thing I saw when I clicked on the aforementioned former Twitter was some Packer fan tweeted, we went from Favre to Rodgers to this guy, and like showed a great throw of his. So like, forget about all that, right? The expectations are going to be that he is the next in the line of great Packer quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why we shouldn't have those expectations there for him. He has the talent. There are no quarterbacks taken in the first round who don't have the talent to be great. I think that he is in the situation where he is showing his talent and he's at the time to learn around or behind a great quarterback the same way Aaron Rodgers had. So maybe he won't be a Hall of Famer, but as Dan pointed out earlier, the point is not necessarily get to the Hall of Fame. The point is to win championships. And I think they've had a championship caliber team for the last 4 or 5 years. They have not necessarily done it, but that doesn't mean that they won't do it in the next couple years under Jordan Love. He's shown the ability, and as long as Brian Gutekunst, I didn't think I was going to come on here and be like the biggest Brian Gutekunst like celebrator, but Lil Goody put together a roster after roster after roster. Goody doing his thing.
I'm down on Goody, though. I'm down on Goody because he called me out at his press conference, and he's like, there's been some noise about David Bakhtiari getting traded, and let me make it clear, there hasn't been any noise. I've been campaigning for it.
You
Right?
are the
Let's
noise.
be clear. One person made noise about it, Brian. Let's not act like
Not happening.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Final thought on this. Go, Jeff Darlington.
You know, there is one downside, not to rain on the parade here, of having a quarterback wait that long. The rookie contract is expiring. So,
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe no pressure the first 3 years. The pressure is squarely on his shoulders right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the pressure from all possible directions to that point. Let's see how it turns out.
Look, I think that what makes the last 2 weeks even more impressive.
Right.
He knows, and it's preseason. It's not the regular season. We'll see what it's like when he goes on the road in Chicago or Minnesota or Detroit. Totally fair.
Right.
But he understands the gravity of the situation, and right now it's been an A+.
Yeah, so far so good. All they need is love.
I loved his pocket movement, keeping his eyes downfield. They've got really talented players around him, and you're watching a player that's really intelligent, that's got a ton of experience and confidence in what he's looking at, and now there's no hesitation with what he's doing. The ball is coming out very confidently and quickly, and again, second week in a row, I sit there and go, Kenny Pickett's getting my attention.
Listen, let's talk about him and them for a minute. The Steelers might be, behind the Cowboys, the most popular team in the National Football League, and he was a first-round pick, and yet I feel like they get no attention and he gets no attention. Domonique, walk up to the average football fan in the street outside of the city of Pittsburgh and ask, in what round was Kenny Pickett drafted? And it might say something like, I don't know, was he like a fourth round? This guy was a first-round pick. Why are we so surprised that he looks like he knows how to play quarterback?
Yeah, he was 20th overall in a class of quarterback picks that we thought weren't going to be that good. So I think that's part of it. And trying to follow a legend like Ben Roethlisberger is going to be hard to do. So I think that all comes together and makes it so we kind of underestimate Kenny Pickett. But you have to appreciate the fact that he's gotten better, and this team has brought him along slowly and coached him well and put all the pieces around him that he needs. They've even improved the offensive line, which was the biggest concern that they had last year. And when you have a defense like they have, you're not going to be asking a whole lot out of your young quarterback. You're going to ask him to make a couple plays a game because the defense is going to suffocate other teams.
Jeff, Kenny Pickett.
Look, I mean, Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, was pretty boring with the offense last year. I think they were, 26th in total points last season. Suddenly it feels this offseason like he's trusting Pickett more, as he should, and he's allowing him to grow into this role. It feels, at least in these preseason games, like they're opening this thing up a little bit more explosiveness. That's probably why we're feeling this energy about the Steelers right now. I think that Canada has as much to do with it as Pickett himself.
All right, so I feel the excitement or energy because of what I'm seeing on the field talent-wise and how young and talented they are. Yeah. My reservations are why I sleep on the Patriots start with an O. Their offensive coordinator, the Steelers, their offensive coordinator and their offensive line. Yeah. You know, Jeff just mentioned the offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. I don't want more gimmicks. I want you to trust those guys. And the offensive line, I don't know how good they're going to be. The reality is this. I think Kenny Pickett's a good player. I felt that way since they drafted him. They've got pieces on the outside.
Has their win total at 7.5 for this year. They have the 8th toughest schedule. They have a 41% chance to make the postseason, according to ESPN Analytics. But this is the time of year, Domonique Foxworth, where we always talk about who might be the surprise. Because if there's one thing we know about the NFL, it's that we don't know anything about the NFL. Never are the things that we think in August the things that turn out to be true when we get to Thanksgiving. Could you see a scenario where the Giants are a legitimate contender in that tough division and in the NFC?
Well, first of all, Greeny, thank you for calling out that cheating by Darren Waller out here pushing off on defenseless corners. But aside from that, no, I mean, I appreciate that it's a well-coached team and they're getting better, but they're not nearly as talented as the other two, the Cowboys and the Eagles in that division. So in order to win, they're going to have to outcoach everybody every single week. It's really hard to do that continuously. You can outplay people when you have more talent, which the Eagles and the Cowboys have. They also have a better quarterback. Both teams have better quarterbacks. So as good as the Giants, I think, can be, I don't think they're going to be able to knock off either of those two teams. Washington, they got a chance to knock down Sam Howell and the Commanders.
I want to go back to Dan on that thought, but let me get Darlington in here. What do you think, Jeff? The Giants, as far as a legitimate contender, look, there's a team that made the playoffs last year, won a playoff game on the road against a Minnesota team a lot of people didn't love. What do you think?
It makes me a little nervous when we're talking about Darren Waller as being the potential key to this team, only because of availability. The past 2 seasons dealing with the hamstring injury that allowed him to play 9 games. Season before that, 11 games. Look, if they get the 2020 version of Darren Waller, this team can contend because Daniel Jones now has that consistent weapon. But can he stay on the field? It's been a question for Waller the past 2 seasons, and for me, it will continue to be.
Well, look, the question around the Giants forever to that point, however, has been about Daniel Jones. And they answered it for us by giving him the contract over the offseason. But that really, to Nick's point, the Giants' ability to legitimately contend with the Eagles and the Cowboys is going to be, does he take that next step? Does he show that while he was merely good last year, is there another step that he can take to where he becomes something much better than
You would think that there's another step. Daniel Jones can't repeat last year and the Giants catch the Philadelphia Eagles and or the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
He has to take the next step. I've talked about it. The thing they did last year that was so good was they never put him in situations where he had to play in chaos. The protection was great, like this play right here. So they committed to doing that. But to chase those 2 teams down, they have to go and be more explosive. So they have some of those pieces. Let me put it this way. All offseason, we've talked about, well, have the Cowboys caught the Philadelphia Eagles?
Right.
I think the question's a little bit more for me, have the Giants caught the Dallas Cowboys? And I think the Cowboys are a good football team. But I think Daniel Jones does take another step. This is a good offensive line. They've got really good pieces around them. And Nick, as much as I love Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia, I would say that I think the Giants will outcoach basically everybody on their schedule because I have so much faith in Brian Dable, Mike Kafka, and Wink Martindale on defense, who you know way better than I do.
And for the record, Sirianni lost his offensive and defensive coordinators. What are they saying about Tua right now?
All through training camp, I keep hearing the confidence that he has. Physically, mentally, he just has a lot of confidence. And I think one thing we saw in that game is something we've been talking about all offseason, and that is the way in which he falls. Again, I don't want to get to the point where we're over-analyzing every single fall or anything like that with Tua. But in this situation, you see him quickly shift. Last year, that might have been a situation where his head whips to the ground. He spent all offseason trying to focus on this. Again, look, he can see that defender coming. What happens when he can't see the defender? I'm just saying that Tua has done at least a very good job this offseason of making sure he's as prepared as possible physically and mentally, and at least in this preseason game, it appeared to be so.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, you can only be aware of so many things. And once you get into high-pressure situations at the end of games, you're getting blitzed, you're worried about the route combination. You're not going to be thinking about falling just right. And you can also get blindsided. So it's still very scary to me. I think it's going to be a lot more luck than it is skill if Tua is able to stay healthy this entire season.
So Danny, if I were to make the statement that if Tua Tagovailoa is healthy for the majority of the season and standing upright when the season comes, the regular season ends, we go into the playoffs, they're as good as anybody, and literally anybody, including Kansas City and anybody else in the AFC. Talent-wise, man for man, I think they're as good as any team in the NFL.
I don't think they're there. They're not far off. I still believe even within the division, it's Buffalo and the Jets that are better if they stay healthy and play to their capability. But I think they're in that second tier of really good football teams. I'm also saying this because I know Jalen Ramsey has got his injury. If Jalen Ramsey didn't have his injury, I might feel a little bit more in agreement with you. But I don't know how long that throw is absolutely spectacular. I don't know how long Jalen Ramsey's going to be out. He's a really big piece to this secondary and their defensive plan. So, yes, really good. I don't think that they're as good as the Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Jets combination.
Quickly, Nick, go.
Yeah, I think they are as good as some of those guys if they can stay healthy. I think Ramsey takes them up even to another level. But you include Vic Fangio, who's never really had a bad defense, 2 great pass rushers, along with that offense that we saw was unstoppable when Tua was healthy. I think they are a legitimate contender with those top teams in the AFC if Tua can stay healthy.
It's new for Aaron Rodgers to be in this huddle with these players. It's new for these players to be on the field in a game setting with Aaron. The last time we saw Aaron in a game, he threw an interception versus the Detroit Lions to essentially end the season. So the ideal situation, Aaron in the starting offense goes out there. They find a way to go down the field, get some points. I don't care what kind of points. And then he comes out and everyone feels great. I would say this. If Aaron plays on Saturday, which it looks like he's going to, Mekhi Becton should be playing tackle with him.
Yeah, and Becton played well in the preseason game the other night, which is an important piece of that Jets offensive line. Domonique, good idea or a bad idea for Rodgers to be playing in the preseason?
Yeah, it's definitely a good idea. Not to assume that Aaron Rodgers, he's played as long as he has. He doesn't need preseason games, but he's in a new team with a new situation. I think going out there with the bright lights and going through all the motions of a regular season game is helpful to them. Of course, you're putting him out there, which exposes him to injury, but he's going to play a lot of other games for the rest of the season that are going to expose him to injury. I imagine that they're not going to do any deep 7-step drops or any questionable protections. They're not going to take any risk with Aaron Rodgers. They're just going to let him get in a rhythm, and I think Dan's right. It'd be nice if they score, but I think winning is getting him out there, having a couple successful plays, and not getting him hit is a successful showing for Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, I remind everybody that the Jets' early season schedule is tough. They will hit the ground, or they will need to hit the ground running to have any chance at accomplishing what they want this year. They open with Buffalo, which means Von Miller. Then they go to Dallas. That means Micah Parsons. Then they get the Patriots, who last year were 3rd in the league in sacks. Then they get the Chiefs, who were 2nd in the league in sacks. And sitting out there are the Eagles, who almost set the record for most sacks in a regular season last year. So you're looking at a lot of teams that can rush the passer. And I will merely say this, Jeff, if Aaron Rodgers should somehow get hurt in a preseason game before the season even begins, I mean, I won't survive it. I mean, no, people ask me, how will this go?
No.
That can't happen,
Well,
right?
why are you even putting that out there?
Well, because that's the reason to ask the question.
Don't
If
do
there
that.
was no
'Cause he's a
question
Jets
that he
fan.
wasn't
This
going
is
to
what
get hurt,
Jets
we wouldn't
fans
be
do,
talking
Dan.
about it, right?
Listen, there is a 0%
They
chance
can't.
that
The
guy's
Jets
gonna
fans
let
can't have
himself
nice
get hurt.
things.
Wait, what?
There's a 0% chance that Aaron Rodgers is going to let himself get hurt. Saturday.
Right.
Zero.
Right, zero.
Because
why? Because what?
he's not going to take the hit.
No hit.
He'll get the ball out, take the ball. I don't care. It's not the regular season.
Right.
He will not get hurt.
No, because I mean, Nick, what? Why
I'm
is this
so
funny?
uncomfortable with this conversation.
Why is this funny? Nick, what? I don't understand.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm scared for you. I wish that it was a 0% chance, but it is a football game. So there is some percentage chance. But if it's going to happen, if he could avoid injuries, maybe last year wouldn't have been as rough as it was last year. You cannot completely avoid injuries in football. I'm not scared about this regular season game. I think when you get up to the age of Aaron Rodgers, I'm just scared anytime you're playing football. And it's not just him you have to worry about. You talked about Mekhi Becton. Yeah, he's an important part to that offensive line, and he also has had trouble staying healthy. So
that's fair.
You don't have to worry about this weekend, but you do have to worry about it all season long.
Jeff?
Oh, stop, Neek. This is just what Jets fans do. You give them nice things, and they just continue to go down this hallway of horror. It's like you just continue to expect the
Find
worst,
ways to be
even
miserable.
when you have been so excited. That's all they do. Pursuit of happiness. They cannot get there. It's unbelievable. You
The
Jets
question
fans are
on
all
the
the
screen is playing Rodgers in the preseason
Yes.
a good idea? Yeah, I'm
Patrick
agreeing.
Mahomes plays a half every preseason.
That's what I mean. So the only reason that there was even any question about it is because there was some threat of injury. I'll just say this in closing. Take me instead. I mean, if anything is going to happen, Aaron, let it I fall off a curb, whatever you want. Hit by a cab, what just
Greeny,
take
you have
me.
to break a sweat.
Take me instead. Listen, I waited 50 years for this. Do not, whatever happens, let it happen to me instead. I am more than willing to take this. I will
I mean,
jump
I could
in
never
front of that.
I could have never imagined what Monday morning get up would be with you with a broken thumb since you wear that.
No problem. I've got my little finger thing. Well, I can't do this show with a paper cut. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.